Tropical storm hurricane warning in Bermuda as deadly system swirls off the southeast coast. Imelda's torrential rain and dangerous coastal conditions have caused at least 2 storm-related fatalities as the tropical storm moved through parts of Cuba and the Bahamas on its southeastward track. Good evening, and welcome to tonight's weather news program. In this bulletin, we bring you highly significant, and quite rare, weather developments unfolding over the Atlantic, along with updates on the upcoming weather across the United States. Tropical storm Imelda is strengthening in the Atlantic as Bermuda prepares to respond. A hurricane warning has been issued for Bermuda as tropical storm Imelda continues to intensify while moving offshore of the U.S. southeast coast. Fox weather meteorologist Craig Herrera analyzed the latest forecast on September 30, 2025. Miami, Bermuda has now issued a hurricane warning ahead of the potential impacts from tropical storm Imelda, which is expected to intensify into a hurricane on Tuesday as it swirls off the southeastern U.S. coastline. Although Imelda is not forecast to make landfall in the United States, its influence is being felt along Florida's coastline. Fox weather meteorologist Michael Esteem provided the latest on-scene updates from Melbourne Beach on September 30, 2025. Imelda's torrential rains and hazardous coastal conditions have already resulted in at least 2 storm-related deaths as the tropical storm moved through parts of Cuba and the Bahamas en route to the southeast. According to the Volusia County Sheriff's Office in Florida, a 51-year-old man from out of state drowned after being pulled into the Atlantic by a rip current and was unable to return to shore. Rip currents are a major concern this week with both tropical storm Imelda and Hurricane Humberto moving over the Atlantic. Both storms are producing large swells, leading to rip currents at beaches along the east coast. In Cuba, a 60-year-old man in Santiago died after heavy rains caused a landslide that collapsed his home while he was sleeping, according to local media and first responders. In its latest advisory, the National Hurricane Center, NHC, reported maximum sustained winds of 70 miles per hour with higher gusts for tropical storm Imelda and indicated further strengthening in the coming days. The NHC stated that Imelda is expected to become a hurricane by late Tuesday and could reach Category 2 strength by Thursday morning. As of the latest update, Imelda was located about 750 miles west-southwest of Bermuda. The tropical storm is moving northeast at 11 kilometers per hour, approximately equals 7 miles per hour. This general motion is expected to continue Tuesday, then turn east-northeast with a faster forward speed Tuesday night. Imelda is forecast to move away from the Bahamas on Tuesday and approach Bermuda late Wednesday, where the hurricane warning remains in effect. The NHC says tropical storm conditions are possible in Bermuda by Wednesday afternoon, with hurricane conditions possible Wednesday night. The good news is that Imelda is not expected to make landfall in the United States, but preparedness measures began over the weekend in many areas as a precaution. A state of emergency has been declared and the National Guard has been deployed in North Carolina to respond to potential impacts. The simultaneous appearance of 2 tropical cyclones, Alda and Humberto, just off the U.S. East Coast is also in focus. Not only are these storms coexisting within a narrow corridor, but they even show signs of entering a special interaction phase known in meteorology as the Fujiwara effect, a rare phenomenon in which 2 cyclones orbit one another and exert mutual influence. This setup seldom occurs, yet every instance captures attention due to the high forecast complexity. In parallel, this bulletin analyzes a searing heat wave expected to erupt across much of the United States this weekend, bringing unusually high temperatures to tens of millions, especially across the Midwest and the Central Plains. Finally, we will discuss the potential formation of a weak cyclone in the Gulf of Mexico late this week, an ingredient that could trigger localized torrential rain along the southern coast. We will present all of this in detail: causes, impacts, and safety guidance. First, back to the Atlantic, where Alda and Humberto are the main storyline. Alda is still classified as a tropical storm, with a loose structure. The center remains poorly organized and convective bands are still scattered. The main reason Alda has been slow to intensify is that it's surrounded by dry air, limiting deep convective development. However, experts note that as Umberto continues tracking northward and pulls away, upper-level winds should become more favorable, giving Alda an opportunity to strengthen and reach hurricane intensity within 24 hours. In other words, as soon as tomorrow, Alda could become a fully fledged hurricane with dangerous wind gusts. Meanwhile, Umberto is much stronger. It is closing in on Bermuda with sustained winds at high hurricane intensity and needs only a small boost to flirt with super hurricane thresholds. Satellite imagery shows a clear eye, symmetrical convection, and a broad circulation, with outer cloud shields and winds already extending over parts of Bermuda. Residents there will feel the strong winds, heavy rain, and large, pounding surf in the coming hours. What draws the meteorological community's attention is not just each storm's individual strength but their interaction. As two storm centers draw within a few hundred kilometers, their vortices begin to affect one another, and their tracks no longer follow the usual rules. This is the Fujiwara effect. Instead of proceeding along separate paths, Alda and Umberto start to orbit a common pivot, like two dancers holding hands on the open sea. Today's satellite loops show Alda's bands being directly influenced by Umberto's convective flow. Conversely, Umberto's western periphery is being tugged toward Alda's circulation. This makes forecasting more complicated, because even a small change in Umberto's forward speed can tug Alda onto a different trajectory. In this scenario, the difference in intensity between the two brings a positive signal. Umberto, stronger and faster, acts like the lead dancer and pulls Alda away from the southeast U.S. coast. This means from Florida through the Carolinas, the risk of direct impacts from Alda has decreased markedly. Welcome news for tens of millions along the Atlantic seaboard. The trade-off is that Bermuda becomes Alda's likely next target in the midweek window. Guidance suggests that from Wednesday evening into early Thursday, Alda may come close enough to deliver hurricane-force winds, large waves, and torrential rain. If that scenario plays out, the island could face a double hit, first from Umberto's envelope, then Alda's more direct impacts. After 2 days of this hand-in-hand phase, Umberto accelerates northeast into the open Atlantic. Alda, by contrast, may be left behind, meandering over the northwestern Atlantic. Some models show Alda reorganizing into a post-tropical system, while others show gradual weakening and dissipation. Only a few ensemble members hint at a weak back toward shore drift toward the southeast U.S., but probabilities are very low, even if it happened. Intensity would likely be weak with minor impacts. In short, the U.S. mainland is not expected to take a direct hit from either Alda or Umberto during this episode. After the storm analysis, we turn to another concern, an abnormal heat wave. As the two storms pull away, the subtropical high rapidly re-establishes over the U.S. mainland, combined with a Rockies trough. This sets up a stark contrast: cooler, drier west, while the central and eastern U.S. heat up intensely. Forecasts indicate that by midweek, the Northeast and Florida will briefly cool somewhat due to marine air intrusions, but the relief will be short-lived. By the weekend, a significant heat wave erupts. In Iowa, Minnesota, and the Dakotas, highs could exceed 35 degrees Celsius, mid-90s degree F, rare for October. Across the Midwest from Illinois to Indiana and Michigan, highs should reach 32 to 34 degrees Celsius, around 90 degrees Fahrenheit. With high humidity, heat indices will be even higher, posing health risks to older adults and children. By contrast, the Northeast will feel like classic autumn, 50s degree F, approximately equals 10 to 18 degrees Celsius. Comfortable but dry, exacerbating localized drought. The West Coast shows the opposite pattern, below normal temperatures. Many places below 25 degrees Celsius, 77 degrees Fahrenheit. With scattered mountain showers. It's not just heat, wind will also be an issue. A robust low-pressure system forming over the Rockies then moving into the high plains will produce tight pressure gradients and widespread strong winds from Texas to Minnesota. These could threaten road safety for high-profile vehicles and elevate wildfire danger in dry areas. That system may also spark thunderstorms, strong gusts, and localized downpours, especially over Colorado, Wyoming, Nebraska, and the Dakotas late in the week. Outlooks already note a marginal risk there. Residents should stay tuned to updates. Meanwhile, the Southeast, especially Florida, keeps its familiar pattern: daily showers and thunderstorms, especially in the afternoon and evening. Cities from Orlando to Miami will see sudden downpours with lightning, gusty winds, and urban flooding risk. This pattern likely persists all week. Finally, attention turns to the Gulf of Mexico, where a weak cyclonic system could form late this week. A weak convective band is expected to develop near the Louisiana coast. Some models, especially the GFS, suggest a tropical depression or weak subtropical low may spin up. If it forms, it would move ashore quickly, bringing heavy rain and potential urban flooding. Other models, Euro and Icon, are more conservative, favoring a disorganized rain area. Either way, residents from Texas and Louisiana to the Florida Panhandle should monitor forecasts, as even a weak system can drop several inches, hundreds of millimeters, of rain in hours, enough to trigger flash floods and low-lying inundation. Overall, the next 7 days paint a varied U.S. weather picture: a cool, rain-starved Northeast, a scorching Midwest and Great Plains, storms and strong winds near the Rockies, daily thunderstorms in Florida, and a potential new Gulf system. It's a volatile week ahead that calls for proactive preparation. In summary, Alda and Umberto are producing a rare Fujifara event over the Atlantic. Spare the U.S. mainland but threaten Bermuda with 2 rounds of impacts. A widespread heatwave is the main concern for millions across the Midwest and Central Plains. The Gulf of Mexico may spawn a weak low late this week, with heavy rain potential. This is an important time to follow forecasts closely, adjust plans, and take heat safety precautions. Tonight's weather news bulletin ends here. Please like and subscribe to receive the latest, most accurate weather information. If you have questions or prayer requests, leave them in the comments. We value every message. Thank you for watching, and see you in our next report.